Hi, hello, welcome back to Coffee and Childbirth. We have a guest today. I think you're our first real live guest in the chairs.
Oh, wow.
Dr. Rhee is out on vacation, and so we had some momentum with recording, and so I was like, let's just have some guests come in the community and we can chat about what you do. I'm Dr. Kelsey. I'm a physical therapist by trade, and I work with moms and babies in their homes. And then this is Miss Angela. I'll let Miss Angela introduce herself. You can tell us like what you do, what your credentials are. Anything else you'd want to share?
Okay. My name is Angela Reis. I am a movement teacher. I teach yoga and mat Pilates, and I specialize in pregnancy and postpartum. I'm a mom of 3, and what else? I think that's it.
Yeah. And we have done a few different workshops together and known each other for a while. As far as in my short, Angela has been here for a long time as far as being in Vegas for a long time, but I moved here in November 2020, and I feel like a majority now of that time we've either done projects together or seen each other at fairs or vendor events and that kind of stuff. So we've known each other for a little while. How long have you been in Vegas?
I grew up here.
Okay,
I grew up here, so I'm a native. Yeah, I was born in Arizona, but I have been here
like the majority of
my whole life. I went to school here.
Okay. I was like, I knew it was a long time. I forgot it was that long.
Yeah, the roots are deep.
The roots are deep. Mm-hmm. So yeah, you're seeing all the construction, and you're seeing.
Oh, like, I've seen so much growth.
We're at the end of. We're not at the end, but we're like probably where, especially adjacent to Blue Diamond, where it like there used to be nothing, and now there's an entire.
Well, I'm so old. I remember when I grew up, we lived at the end of town, and that was Tropicana and Buffalo.
Yeah.
And I remember when there was no 215.
Wow. I can't even imagine. That would suck to drive. There's no 215. But
I mean, there was,
there just was nowhere to drive.
Well, there was where there wasn't that many people.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
And even going down Rainbow, it was a very I remember hilly road back in the day.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So times have changed. For our audience, people that we talk to is very similar to the people that we have at our workshops, which is pregnant and postpartum, and then infants to like children. So the questions that I was going to ask in a conversational tone, of course, is like, tell us if you were talking to a mom and you were like, these are the things that helped with my 3 pregnancies and births that you had. Do you feel like there's any crossover with your yoga teaching or your movement teaching that you brought into those births and those preparing for pregnancy?
Yeah. I was thinking about that. I think the biggest thing that yoga has taught me is just to trust myself.
Which is a hard one.
Yeah.
So trusting yourself in the intuition.
Yeah, trusting myself in the intuition, but also knowing my body, right? Like being in touch with my body. I think a lot of us are taught not to listen to our bodies, and then we're, given these like very high pressured messages of what we should look like and how we should move, So people are very, especially beginner students, like, am I doing this right? And my question is, well, how does it feel?
Yeah. The feedback from your body and the feedback from saying, if I'm moving this way, what is the result of that in my body? Not necessarily always the external performative result of does this move baby down or does this move baby over here? But like, what am I actually feeling, and how does that get me closer overall to my goal? Or even just, I think with birth, a lot of that is even just, how does that support me through this experience? Because it's not linear. So it's not going from like, you have the contractions, next you have the baby. So how is it supporting me and my body in kind of this gray space? Some people, I mean, I don't know if you had this with any of your births, but like, I feel like I wasn't really aware my first birth, and I remember a lot more during my second. So even just like, you may not be able to recall what you were feeling, so you just have to go along with that flow and not surrender.
I don't know, for my 3 births, they were all
different,
very different,
very
different. And I would say it was a different headspace to with each of them. And I think don't discount where you are, you know, mentally and where you are in your life. Like that's going to impact your experience.
Yes. As far as like my first and my second were in different places. As far as I was in Washington with my first, I was around family as far as we were just living closer to family. I was here for my second. We didn't have family. We had like kind of started to crack a little bit into the community, like getting a little bit into it, but we were only, I think, here for a year, not even a year. We were here for like 5 months before I got pregnant, and then he was born 11 months after we were like here. So we weren't even here a full year for us to have built community, because it's a whole job of doing that. So, and then when it comes to your, like, those differences in, do you feel like you utilize more yoga practices or more Pilates practice? I have a thought, but do you feel like you use more yoga practices or Pilates practices?
Well, so I didn't do my Pilates training until after I had my last child. So I would say I'm mostly, you know, I feel like I'm a yoga first. I got into Pilates because I realized like I'm getting older and I really wanted some of the strength-based exercises and using weights and things like that. So that's what drew me to Pilates.
Which is like the seasonality of where that's different, right? If you're done having, doesn't necessarily have to be done having kids, but you shift a little bit into being able to say, okay, I want to be interested in this piece, instead of feeling like you need to be open for the next birth that may happen, or even like I'm 37 and so I'm done having kids, and so I'm like, what the hell is this perimenopause situation happening? And people are like, you're too young, and I'm like, just trust that it's like an evolution.
I feel like after I turned 35, I was like, okay, my body is changing, things are like different, my skin is changing,
it's just different. So even with that of being like, okay, strength, how do you access that strength? Because truthfully, even from as a PT, as a physical therapist, I would rather have someone go through strength awareness training, which is basically like Pilates or yoga, but more Pilates probably, before try to lift something, lift heavy, lift a barbell, lift a kettlebell that's the weight of your child or whatever, because that doesn't have the same tax on the body. It definitely has similar, like, okay, what is my brain doing communicating with my muscles? How do I actually do this movement? But it's not as intense, and so it's intense in a different way. So you get to have that awareness first. We're firing, all those things are happening, and then we add on and say, okay, now we're going to lift big or heavy because we're ready. You know? And I know that's not like exciting, right? We want to lift big stuff first because we feel like we're going to get the big results sooner. We're humans. But I do see, especially doing some of your Pilates versus your yoga, I see how that can be really beneficial depending on what season you're in.
I say for my students who like have those really yang practices, like you need yoga. You need that balance.
So yang, go into that I think I know what you're talking about, because we've talked about yoga enough. But explain for like the audience, what do you mean yang principles? What's the difference?
Well, yang, I would say, would be like the energetic, the strong, like, so doing like weightlifting, even I would, probably put running, your high impact exercises, your sports. If you're that type of person who's always like, I'm on the go, you need yoga, because yoga helps you learn how to slow down, cultivate mindfulness, because how many times are you just doing it? You're through the motions, but you're not really doing it. So yoga is a lot more than just movement. It's also the presence, the mindfulness. The purpose of yoga originally was to be able to sit and do meditation. And that's
right. And access to that skill of saying, okay, we're still, and then we're going into the deeper phases of meditation, like the higher levels of meditation. So for summary, so yang being production, masculine, like more aggressive, more on the go, higher pace. Yin being surrender, introspection, slower movement, or stillness. Complete stillness. And so those two things you're saying, like if someone is prenatal or they're pregnant and they're like, I am in a high powered or a high movement situation for my job, and this is just who I am. This is how I tend to be. Like I have a hypertonic pelvic floor, I've been told, so I tend to have all these increased muscle actions, right? That would be great for yoga as far as the yin part of it, or the yoga, just yoga in general, because anything is going to feel slow to that person. Even like the high movement of version of yoga for someone who teaches it is going to be like, this is really fast. That person's going to be like, when are we? What's happening? I
would say there's some pretty intense, very
hard,
intense types of yoga. Obviously the type I teach is, yes, we do build some heat, but it's not the same intensity as doing like an Ashtanga class or a Vinyasa class.
Vinyasana is, I feel like, more common. I don't know if it's more like popular. So when it comes to using that tool, so I refer a lot for women in pregnancy to go into, a lot of people will ask about prenatal yoga, and I always say that it is a really, really great addition to your plan because there's this repetition that you get out of that to connect and to surrender. So getting into some kind of flow state and understanding that prior to the big event. And so for someone especially who hasn't experienced that, like maybe they haven't been in competition for something, either it doesn't have to be a sport, but even like piano or music or theater or something like that, that structure where there's all this practice, all this support before, and then the big event happens. And so you have to go into you have to transition a little bit into a different aspect of that. Oh, sorry. We're going to pause 1 second. We'll re-edit this back in. It's okay. She's early, which is great. Hi. We're recording an episode right now, but if you want to take a seat in that chair or use the restroom, and then we'll be out in just like 10 minutes. Okay. Thank you.
Who's your next one?
You can meet her, Nicole. She's a mobile prenatal massage therapist.
Oh, cool. I need her cards because they're hard to find to refer to.
I know, and that's what I'm getting. She came by a Bottega one time. And we're at like 15 minutes. Dropped her cards off. It was like a year ago, and that's how I found her. And they were really cute. And I was like, oh, I should talk to you. Okay, so we'll restart. I'll make a very big obvious like intermission there, so you know. And I was talking about, so I have like two more questions for you. Doula question, and then there was one last one. My phone is over there. Do you remember what the last one was?
No.
I think it was maybe just like, what do you want to share what's one piece of advice you would give? I think that's what it was. Okay.
One piece of advice.
So
I don't think that was it, but okay.
Okay. I was like, I can't
remember what it was.
Okay. It was like, I think it was about in general. Anyway.
It was about balance. How do you balance it all?
Yes, mompreneur. That's what it was. Okay. So, what was I saying? Referral. Yes. So when we think about utilizing prenatal yoga during that time, and for someone who, it can benefit anyone, but I think for sure for someone who doesn't have experience with maybe entering that flow state, so they can start to practice that, because that will help with pelvic floor connection, and then there's a lot less of this like surprise situation that's happening. You also have, which I think really informs in a positive way your yoga teaching or your teaching in general, you also have doula experience and credentials. If someone was curious about investing in a doula, what is like one thing that you would say to them, not necessarily to sway them, but in just your experience? Like, what's one thing you would say that you would want them to know when making their decision?
Yeah, I think there's always a little bit of confusion, like, what is a doula? What does a doula do? How can it benefit me? And I like to describe a doula as like a fitness trainer, right? Like you can go to the gym by yourself, of course, but if you are wanting like specific results or an outcome, a doula is a great guide to help you achieve those goals. And maybe if you don't achieve the goal, they can definitely help you process and understand your situation. Because a lot of times I think people go into the birth, you know, situation and they're like, what's happening?
Yeah. Which is really hard when you feel like, also, even just for a little note on like what that we'll do an episode, I'm sure, on doulas. We'll probably have a doula come and talk with us at some point. I'm sure, because there's quite a few out there, but also everybody's different with how they approach it. So I love talking to different people. Are like, why don't you just refer to one? And I'm like, they're just so different.
They are very
and
different.
People are different.
Yes.
To finish off that question, agreeing with you on, well, the understanding that doula support happens in pregnancy in a certain amount, depending on the doula, in birth, like at the event of birth, and then also potential for postpartum. So not everyone does that postpartum care, but that's something you want to ask too and look at, because like you said, processing through, we don't want you to feel like you have to process right as you're birthing.
No. Of
like,
course not.
Go through whatever you're going to go through, and then have, respecting that time, and then having that postpartum doula be available to process with you if needed. And if it becomes, out of their level of what they can support, then that obviously mental health therapist would be great as well to kind of transition, depending on the person. But just understanding that they can extend past that birth time.
Oh yeah.
Because there's there's birth, there's death doulas, there's all different, there's the whole spectrum of time, which I think is cool and helpful for people to understand, because I didn't know that before going into doula training and taking doula training and talking to, just being involved in the birth community. I didn't even realize that. So and always trying to do that ahead of time. That's the key too, because when you're 2 weeks into postpartum, you're not like, let me just interview a doula real quick.
My advice to my students, my clients is, set up your care team prior while you're pregnant. Don't wait for a crisis to happen. Like, have, who am I going to call for a therapist? Who am I going to call for feeding support? Who am I going to call for, help bringing me meals or whatever it is that you anticipate that you might need. Or even if you don't think you need it, it's just good to know, like, okay, this is where I'm going to go.
And prevention is hard. Prevention is a hard mindset. Again, like as humans, prevention is a hard mindset to switch. But most of the time, you'll hear positivity from other moms who have gone before you, or potentially if it's your second or third or whatever child, and you will have experienced that and been like, ooh, that was rough. Or that was different than what I thought. It doesn't even have to be rough. It could just be different than what you anticipated. Speaking of different than what we anticipated, so with 3 kids, with a spouse, with animals, with normal life requirements of your own self-care and living and being human, how do you manage in a business, having a practice, how do you manage all of that together? What is like one thing you would give to a mom who maybe is in that scenario and they have little kids, like infants, or because your kids are a little older, even older kids?
You have to, I don't know, I'm very type A. So for me, like fiercely planning out my schedule, like I know it's going to, this is when everything is going to happen. And sometimes it doesn't happen that way, but
of course,
being open and flexible, but having an idea. And I would even say for like new yoga teachers, like you have to schedule your days off. Like you have to schedule in that self-care time, because otherwise you're going to try to teach, every day of the week. I have definitely taught every day of the week. I'm like, why did I do that? And deciding, do I want to drive to North Las Vegas for a client? Because that gets very taxing as a yoga teacher, like driving back and forth whenever you're mobile. Like, so you need to decide, maybe I'm just serving this region, or maybe I go to that, part of town on this day of the week. But you have to, find your set your schedule and have your boundaries, and also having a supportive partner who can support, you know, those kind of life fluctuations. Because if you have a partner who's just, you know, you do everything, like you're going to burn out really quick.
Really fast. Yeah. So I think I definitely agree with all of those things. I love talking about that subject, so I'm sure we'll do that more, or you know, we'll do that more.
I can go into how
the nitty gritty of like the because that is something where I think again, probably because you're a yoga teacher and you have this experience and you've done this for years, but that yin and yang dynamic of yes, we can be planning the schedule, but we have to be okay with the flexibility of if it doesn't shake out that way. Yeah. Because a lot of times people, like you said, the advice that a mom will get who is entering into being managing a business in addition to family, et cetera, is okay, just time block and just schedule your little heart out. Yeah. Which is yes, but that's only half of it, because the reality is your children are not robots, your spouse is not a robot, you're not a robot. Yeah. So you have to be able to manage and be okay with, yes, I scheduled this thing, it didn't work out that way. Or even like, yes, I scheduled this 2-hour block to actually do nothing. Yeah. Which feels weird initially, because you're like, I should fill this. Why am I even scheduling this? I should just let this be. But we know something's going to fill that if I don't explicitly assign that to doing nothing, which seems like counterintuitive.
Yeah. I have 2 more thoughts to that. Yeah. Plan things to be longer than what you think.
Transition time is up.
Yeah. So plan that transition time. Yeah. I feel like with kids, 1,000%. Like small kids, like 30 minutes just to get out of the house. Yes. You know, some days it might take 5 or 10 minutes, but other days you may need that whole 30 minutes. Exactly. That's their favorite time to go poop. Yeah.
Go poop, not put their shoes on,
spill something on the floor,
want to put their shoes on themselves and they can't tie, like whatever the situation may be. And then the bonus is if we are running on time or whatever, running early, you have slush fund. Right. So you can listen to like an extra song in the car, or you can like take a minute and drink your coffee with them, or you know, and it does kind of help a little bit with that gratitude of like, I just have this quote extra time that I found. So
and I find my kids feel better when they don't feel rushed. Oh, 1,000%. Like when I'm like feeling stressed and rushed, like it just makes the process like slower and suckier for everybody. Of us. Yeah. So just taking your time in the morning, like to get out and
it's a tricky. I could talk for hours on that, but
getting out of the house.
Is there anything you want to share with the audience? It doesn't even necessarily have to be time dependent. I don't know when this is going to air, but is there anything that you would want to share? Like, we didn't explicitly say where to find your website or what you typically teach, or
so my website is prenatalyogalalasvegas.com, and we offer weekly group classes if you're not local to Vegas. We also offer virtual classes, and I do private lessons as well, which can be in home or also virtual depending on where you're at. So those are the options. I teach regular workshops. We teach our workshops together.
We teach our workshops. We do like a series twice a year, so it sounds like far off, but I just say that so that whenever this goes out, we'll put the exact dates of like the next one coming up. But
we usually do
summer and winter, seasonal. We kind of build it out that way, and you get working with both of us. It's been really fun. So I love that you're across the valley, so we'll share the website, but like there are different places, so it's not all in one place, which is really helpful and nice for different people, because access to that connection to yin or yang yoga, depending on like what you need, is great. Like we need that globally. So thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you for having me.
I hope that you had
exciting.
A good time. We can always chit chat more, so it's hard for us to say but thank you for watching, and we will see you at the next one.